last year, we had a report that 5 multinationals dumped Nigeria in 10 months. That's very surprising.
There are more now, actually.
Yes, it's more than 5 right now.
Yeah.
This report was published in December. So at least 5 multinationals have winded down operations in Nigeria in the last 10 months. An analysis of separate notices filed by the firms has shown. First, we have the consumer goods giant Procter and Gamble's. It said it would dissolve on-ground operations in the country. The company explained that it was difficult to do business in Nigeria as a dollar-dominated organization, and the macroeconomic reality in Nigeria is responsible for its latest strategic decision. Also, the company joined a growing list of multinationals to exit Nigeria in 2023. The first multinational to announce that it would fold up operations in Nigeria in 2023 was Unilever. The company's decision to end production in Nigeria is not unconnected to increased financial difficulties occasioned by the continued devaluation of the naira, among others. And we have about 3 other companies as well. We have the GSK's consumer health arm, Halion PLC. It also informed GSK Nigeria of its intent to terminate its distribution agreement in the coming months and appoint a third-party distributor. The company said it had appointed a third-party distributor to handle its commercial portfolio of medicines from February 2024. And that's just it about some of the multinational companies that have exited Nigeria. You know, they've terminated their business here in Nigeria. Yeah. So today we are discussing exporting your business, moving it from being home-based to being international and globally based. So let's begin the conversation, Mr. Tony.
All right. So essentially, from what you just read, some of the companies that left are GSK, PLC. These are global multi-billion-dollar, brands. Then Sanofi, Aventi, Nigeria, Bolt Food, Jumia Food, Equinor, Procter and Gamble, and a list of others. Now, the most recent one that I heard in the news was Shell BP. That's the one that shocked me. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. Shell has been operating in Nigeria for over 60 years, right? Yes. Shell has made trillions of dollars off, the Nigerian oil and gas, industry. And for Shell to decide to leave now, that will tell you that the situation is really dire. The situation is really bad. Okay, so that's a background to let you know that companies that are worth billions of dollars are leaving Nigeria. And so the question is, what are you doing about your own business? Right? Most entrepreneurs in Nigeria, most business people in Nigeria worked very hard to find their capital, right? As far as I'm concerned, the federal government doesn't give anybody. I've been doing business for over 20 years, right? And so even though we need money for business, we never get it from the federal government. Banks don't give you money. Even when they give you money, you're paying very high interest rates, right? So anybody who's built a business today built it on their own strength, on the back of their own effort and hard work, right? And so you should do something to save your business. So it's important that you look at what these big companies are doing. They have looked at the economic situation of Nigeria, and they found that either because of high inflation or the cost of fuel, basically we don't have 24-hour power. And so most of these companies have to provide their own power needed in their operations, right? And so they have been buying diesel or fuel to run their generators, but all of a sudden the prices of fuel and diesel has gone off the roof. So it's become clear that these companies are running very high overheads, right? And so they're deciding to move their operations from Nigeria to other locations around the world. And so I recommend that you do the same. And like Chemaka said, since we started this show, we've been harping on export. But we've talked more about commodity export, solid minerals. We've talked about different kinds of export, really. But we never really talked about business export, which is a situation where you export your business. Right? Mm-hmm. So GSK has essentially exported their services or their operations from Nigeria to another country. Procter & Gamble has done the same. Bolt Food has done the same. Sanofi has done the same. There are many other companies. Shell is doing the same now. Shell is actually looking for somebody to offer them, I think it's 2 point something billion or 1 point something billion dollars, to buy over a section of their business that they are, giving up in Nigeria, right? So the reason is that, running business in Nigeria has always been tough, but it's tougher now. So the chances of any business succeeding in Nigeria is really very slim, right? So I recommend that you export your business, right? How can you export your business, and why do you need to?
Question.
Yeah,
How
so
can
why
you
do you?
export your business?
Yeah, why do you need to export your business? We've said that there's high inflation. We've said that there is the high cost of providing power for your business is one, especially people in the manufacturing industry. But a couple of weeks ago, I also told you that because the Nigerian worker isn't earning enough. Look at how funny it is, and this is what makes me believe that our politicians are really very mean and heartless people, right? Everything in Nigeria is going up in prices, in price. It was first of all fuel because the president
fuel subsidy.
Yeah, the president on the first day of office decided to remove subsidy.
The fuel subsidy.
And he knew that if you did that without providing a viable alternative, the cost of commodities will skyrocket and people are going to suffer, and yet he did it, right? Now, a couple of months ago, the power sector wanted to increase power tariffs. Federal government said, no, you can't do it. But I read on the news recently that federal government has given its blessings, so power is going to rise very soon. So how do these people want Nigerians to survive? Now, the bold Nigerians who have dared set up their businesses and pay whatever it is to keep these businesses afloat, especially the provision of power for their own private businesses, are saying that it's just not sustainable anymore, right? So these businesses are dying in their numbers. But I'm saying that business you worked hard to set up doesn't have to die in Nigeria. The solution is for you to relocate that business. So how do you relocate the business? For example, I start with the UK. The UK has something we call a branch office visa, right? A lot of you want to travel overseas and you don't even know how to do it. A lot of you will want to live overseas and work and do business, but you own a business here already. I recommend that you go for the branch office visa if your interest is to move your business to the UK. And UK is a good place to move business, your business. The reason, and there are a number of reasons, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands of Nigerians living in the UK. So if you actually move a business that serves Nigerians, right? Be it a hotel business or a snack business or a bakery or whatever, a manufacturing business, and what you're doing is the same thing that you did in Nigeria. That means your target audience are Nigerians. And so if you moved it to a foreign country where you have hundreds of thousands of Nigerians, it gives you a great chance to make much more profit than you could have ever made in Nigeria. Now, the other reason is this. The UK has one of the strongest currencies in the world, right? Today, the UK pound has always been stronger than the euro and the dollar. And today, the UK pound is changing at close to 1,500 thereabout, that is one UK pound to Naira is changing at about 1,500 Naira to 1 UK pound, right? So if you take advantage of this UK branch office visa and moved your business to the UK, you stand a chance to earn hard currencies, right? And if you earn hard currencies, you repatriate your funds to Nigeria, you have a lot of money, to buy more materials to produce whatever it is that you need to produce, or ship your raw materials over to the UK to process it. Now, if what you sell are made in Nigeria, it gives you more allowance to make much more profit. Because, for example, you sell that a 500 gram of Gary, packed Gary, sells for about €5 in the Schengen nations, in the euro using nations, right? And in the UK it's about £5. Okay. Can you imagine that 500 grams of Gary is just maybe about 4 cups of Gary? And how much you sell a cup of Gary here? It's maybe about, I don't know how much you sell.
One something.
Yeah, 1,000.
Right
one
a
Naira.
cup of Gary.
Yeah, a cup of Gary is about 100 Naira, 120 Naira. I don't know how much it's sold.
Between 100 and 200.
But even if it was sold for 200, and 4 cups of Gary will just be 800. But then you move that 4 cups of Gary to the UK, just what I talked about, relocation of commodities to increase value. That same 4 cups of Gary, you move it to the UK, you're selling it for £5. Okay. And that is 1,500 times 5. That's a lot of money for just 4 cups of Gary. That's to tell you that any commodity coming from Nigeria that you sell in the UK, can make you a lot of money. Now, I've talked about these fabric sellers
Yes, we've talked about
at main market. They can relocate any of those shops, because I've seen some of these shops. These shops are stocked to the brim, and these are rich shops that sell a lot of fabrics. These fabrics are needed by many Nigerians. Now imagine that you lift your fabric shop at Ogbete main market right now. You lift it as it is with a tailor that is good at making female clothing, and move that tailor and that shop to the UK. You know how much money you'll be making, right? So people, many Nigerians and Africans who love African fabric and prints, will walk into that shop, the same shop that was struggling at main market, but you move it to the UK. You'll be making thousands of pounds, and your source, the source of your commodities, is Nigeria as well. So you see, you stand a chance to make 10 times what you make over a commodity, here in Nigeria. And so that's one of the reasons why you should consider moving your commodities or your business to a country like the UK.
Okay.
Now, it's the same thing with the Schengen nations.
All right.
It's the same thing with the US as well, right? You're not just targeting Nigerians, but you're targeting people now globally. Where you used to sell only to Nigerians, if you move to an international country, it gives you a chance to sell to a whole lot of Africans and white people. White people love our fabrics as well. I'm just talking about fabrics. Now, talk about food. Right? So if you own a restaurant here and you're struggling, you can move your restaurant overseas. I know Nigerians who own food trucks. They don't have food trucks. They don't
outside
have a regular.
Nigeria?
Yes, they don't have a regular restaurant. It's a food truck that people just come and over the window pay for food and buy fried plantain, jollof fries, pounded yam and soup, porridge and vegetable yam and all of that. These are big sellers. Okay, I went to a restaurant to eat in Dusseldorf in Germany, some time ago. Would you believe that we paid for a plate of Obono soup? We paid €6. Egusi soup for €6, and Obono soup was even more expensive. And do you know that this soup was not even cooked with red oil? And we asked the guy, he cooked it with granite oil. And we asked the guy,
there was
what
no red oil?
He said yes, that Germany doesn't allow Nigerian red oil to come in, and the one that they allow, which is the Ghanaian one, tastes soapy. So the quality is not as good as the Nigerian one, but they just wouldn't let Nigerian red oil come in. But we were craving Nigerian food, and so we had to eat okra soup with granite oil. It makes a lot of sense. But this guy is making a lot of money. Can you imagine? He sold it for €6 and €8 for soup and small dough like that. Small swallow.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make is that there is room for you to make a lot of money when you relocate your business. You just have to do that. You just have to, for those of you who can afford it anyways, you have to consider that because the economy here is really in a bad shape.
I was about asking about the capital, the money involved in doing this.
It's not that expensive, because remember, some of these businesses already have commodities. Right? Imagine somebody who owns a clothes store in main market. He has commodities. All he needs to do is package his stuff in cartons and give it to a freight forwarder. The guy freights it overseas. Okay. Well, all he needs to worry about is going to get the visa that allows him to.
All right, and that brings us to how to do this. How do you export your business, your services, your product from what you do, like from here, from Nigeria to outside there? Okay, so I start with exporting just general Nigerian commodities. I have a client whose daughter lives in the US, right? And so this man is already operating in the agro sector, right? And so friends of his daughter knows that the daughter has a way to get these things over to the US, and so they've been calling on her to open an African store. Right, so this man is planning to open an African store. So what we did a couple of months ago was ship a number of commodities to the US. Right now, they wanted to do this way. The daughter has a big house and has a garage, so their idea is to ship these commodities, be it cooking condiments, obono, egusi, okra, crayfish, maggi, just name it. Right, and then gari, yam, and all of that, smoked fish, stockfish, all of these things that you use to cook here is what they were interested in selling, right? So we shipped the first consignment to the daughter, right? It's as simple as taking these commodities to Enugu International Airport, right? And sending it through an organization that is in charge. What do you call the name of this organization? I've forgotten their name now, but they're the ones in charge of freight, at the airport here. If you don't want to use the Enugu International Airport, you go to NACO, Lagos, right? That is for those who want to ship by air. Air freight is faster, it's quicker, but it's a little more expensive. It's actually more expensive, right? But with export, you don't have to worry about the cost of freight and all of that, because you will make that money. So the first thing is for you to decide what business you want to set up, right? Now,
you can hire an agent. There are so many countries where you can do this. You can do this in Dubai, you can do it in the UK, you can do it in the Schengen countries, you can do it in America, you can do it in Kenya, Ghana, Togo, any of these countries. But what I recommend is before you move your business to any country, the first thing you have to check is income per capita. Check income per capita. Okay. Check GNI, gross national income of this country. Yeah. Check their GDP. This is what tells you if this country is sound economically. Because you don't want to move from a dying economy to another dying economy. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
you're moving your business. Yes, you're moving your business from a dying economy to an economy that is booming. So first of all, you have to look at countries that are booming. Then when you identify a number of them, then you compare all three of them and study their business, laws and see what one that fits better. Right now, for me personally, Kenya is a good market for African Nigerian commodities. Anywhere in Europe is good. Well, most European countries are good. UK is good. Germany, France, Portugal, Spain. Any of these countries are good. America is good. Canada is good. Right now, the next step after you've decided the country you have to go to is contact their embassy. You can either contact an agent, a business service agent in this country, tell them what your plan is, that you want to move your business there. Now, if you're contacting an agent in the UK, what they would mostly recommend is a branch office visa, which allows you to get a visa on the strength of you moving your business to the UK. Right now, but one other way you can do it is contact the embassy. So let's say you want to move your business to Kenya now. You contact the Kenyan embassy in Nigeria and tell them, hey, I want to set up a business in Kenya, or I want to open a branch of my business in Kenya. They will give you a set of documents and a set of requirements, right? You'll take away a checklist, right? So you go through that checklist, and if it's something that you can provide, you pull all those documents together and then bring the money with you and go apply for the visa, right? Because you don't want to move your goods until you've secured the right kind of visa that allows you to live in that country and do business, right? So that's with Kenya. That's the UK. I've talked about how you can do it with the UK. If you want to do it with the US, it's still really seamless. But the thing is that you have to have some money. So this is not for everybody. It's not like you're selling pure water here and all of a sudden you want to move your pure water business to the UK. No, these are for people who can afford it, because there is a cost implication, right, with getting the visas and moving the commodities. But I can tell you it's really very profitable. I know so many people that are doing it, right? Now, if you don't want to do any of the Western countries, there are neighboring African countries whose currencies are strong. Cape Verde is one of them. The Francophone countries in West Africa are not doing badly, right? Okay. But the market is already saturated because you have so many Nigerians there. So I recommend you look at East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi. Then you look at South Africa. South Africa itself, South Africa as a country itself is a good market for Nigerian commodities. Then in Southern Africa as a region of Africa, you can look at Botswana, you can look at Namibia. These are countries that have strong currencies. And so if you can move your business to these countries, you would have already saved your business and you will make a lot of profit doing that. Now, this is a take home for you. I have been doing export for so many years, and every time I ship goods from Nigeria, I make at least 5 times the cost of the commodity. Right? A commodity that I bought for 100,000 naira, when I move it overseas, I can sell it for as much as 600,000 naira in foreign currency. And then when you convert that foreign currency to naira, then you'll see that you're making a lot of money. I give you an example. This phone could be selling now for 50,000 naira, right? And then if you move it to say a country like Cape Verde. Cape Verde is a small country but has a very strong currency. So you move this phone to Cape Verde and sell it in Cape Verde, you could sell it for as much as 20,000 escudos. Right, 20,000 escudos will be giving you almost 500,000. Almost 500,000. Sorry, almost 200,000 naira.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And that's a phone that you bought for cheap here. So I want you to look at what I'm saying, because the Nigerian currency is really very devalued. And let me say this: Nigeria is actually one of the cheapest countries in the world where you can live. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you. Now look at it. Now look at it. That's why Nigerians don't see the value in our country. Our country is really cheap. Nigeria is one of the 3 countries in Africa that sells petroleum at the lowest cost. And yet Nigerians are crying. The problem is not
even
that Nigerians...
Even with the current pump price?
Yes. It's still one of the 3 cheapest petroleum pump prices in Africa, right? The problem is not that Nigerian commodities have become too expensive. The problem is that Nigerians are not earning enough. Nigerian income is stagnant. Pay Nigerians well, and I tell you, Nigerians will want to live in Nigeria because things are really cheap here, right?
Okay.
So that means that any commodity you move from Nigeria to any of these countries that are available makes you, a lot of profit. And so for those of you who can afford it, I recommend that you look into it. If you want guidance in doing this and you want some more information, when Chemaka calls that number, you can ring it and I'll give you, some ideas on how you can go about it.
Okay.